I've seen, I don't know what the Japanese would call a home drama, but I've seen several episodes or series and so on, which usually place the female and the male with some sort of conflict between them. It's a classic sort of soap or drama setup. So I've seen some. Sometimes the emotions are very cartoon vision when somebody's surprised, instead of saying, oh, it's a and then hold that frame for a moment. So a lot of them are very kind of comic in a way. And it's very well scripted, it's beautifully acted. And each of the daughters are beautiful in a different way. And we talked a while ago about Japanese ladies, and more recently a little bit about Japanese men. And you can see the clear distinction between the female dynamic and the male dynamic. The male dynamic is very straightforward, quite severe in lots of ways. Short, sharp sort of conversations about what to do, what not to do. They're very contained, a bit like the men on the tube. They're very internalized with their emotions. And yet the girls are very open, very emotive, very dramatic about what's happening in their lives. Apart from the elder sister, who's just very calm. She's almost like the matriarch of the sisters. She lets things bounce off the outside of her, but she's actually doing exactly what she wants. So they've all got their own selfish motivations in lots of ways, which is really, really interesting. I'd just like to say I'd love to see more of that director's work, or writer's work. Yeah. If I hadn't seen that particular drama, I might have thought, well, I don't know how much has changed in Japan. Perhaps the male dominance, the male will be the head of the family, is part of the culture, that the male plays that role and the female plays a different role. But when I thought about it, these are very powerful women, all of them, in their own way. And in some ways, the men appear more passive, except when they're at work or doing something. And they're saying, you've got to do this, that has to be done now. We now need to have this meeting. And so they can direct their energies to being serious and so on, the men. But the females allow much more emotion into their lives. And they're much more honest in a way, because they're talking to each other about certain things. But the men seem to be, and of course, what do I know from the outside? All I'm doing is responding to a drama. The men seem to be very contained in what it is that they will respond to. And when one of the sisters brings a problem to her husband, says, this is happening, or this is happening with dad, whatever, he doesn't really get emotional about it. He might look and feel thoughtful, and then he'll make a statement, and that's it. Then he moves on. But it doesn't resolve anything for the sister, for his wife. So he doesn't get involved in all that stuff. So he knows things are going on, but he's apart from it, he's separated from it. And I think that's very interesting culturally. And I get a feeling that the next generation, the teenagers, would deal with that sort of thing quite differently, and perhaps more equally as well. I think maybe it was set in that period on purpose, because in a way it's the 70s, it's sort of, there was much more ability for females in the West, certainly, to have the opportunity or the confidence to voice their own feelings or disagree with the men. So I think the male dominance, in a sense, in families and business and so on, was probably worldwide, and it still is in lots of places, quite common. Not so much in the UK, but of course I can only view it from the male perspective, but I think it's still unfair for a lot of females, very difficult for them to break through. But a lot of females now are lawyers, are chefs, are the heads of industries and that sort of thing. So the opportunities are there, they are coming, but I think they still have to fight harder. They've got to prove themselves more, I think, than men. I wonder if she saw herself in one of those roles, one of those characters. I wonder if she's written herself into them.
Yeah.
If she had, I might be tempted to think that she was the older sister. Because she's overseeing everything, she's looking at everything, she's hearing everything, but she doesn't always say very much. And well, again, the one I was consistently, not constantly, consistently drawn to is the older sister, because there's a beauty in the way that she's so composed. She seems so still. And that, for me, is very, very attractive. It's a beautiful sort of state of being. And there's an obvious intelligence that comes through her eyes. But it's a very calm intelligence. Whether she agrees or disagrees with what's going on, she's sort of standing slightly apart from it. She's not allowing the emotion to draw her in. Whereas the next sister down is getting very worried. You can see the frowns and the lines on her face. You think, in another 5 years, you're going to be, what's happening with my life? And then you've got the other two sisters, one who's very bossy and saying, I'm not going to end up like this and you shouldn't be doing that and where are your morals and you've got to do blah, blah, blah and put yourselves together. She was like a young mum to the rest of them, telling them all off. Yeah. And then the one under her, I just want nice things, I don't want any of this. So right at the top, you've got these massive contrasts, the two elder sisters. So the one I'm constantly drawn back to is this elder sister, because you know that all the cogs are turning, all the mentality is focusing and listening and taking things in. But as well as that, she said, okay, I've had enough of that now, I'm going to have an affair. and she just goes off and has a lovely time with her, which she's either the mistress to the guy or he's kind of the... I get the feeling she's running that relationship with the married guy, to the degree that when the married guy's wife comes on the scene, he freaks out and she just stands up straight.
That was funny.
I won't get, again, if you haven't seen it, it's a lovely scene. It's a fantastic scene. but there's some lovely touches which lighten it, but you don't know that that's going to be funny until a few seconds later.
Yeah, that's right.
Family life of the second eldest sister. Yeah. Most of the things are happening around the kitchen area, the eating area. They're always to do with food in Japan. I guess always, which is, I love it. Absolutely love it. There was an American film with Robert De Niro called The Irishman, and it's about the mafia. But it was being evaluated by a couple of people on the radio. And one of them, who's supposed to be reviewing the film, said, well, I didn't watch it because nothing happens. And that person should, I thought, I don't really understand your approach. You're supposed to be reviewing this film, yet what it seems you're saying is, where's the explosions, where the gunfight, where are the machine guns? Something's got to happen. You need that, you seem to need that instant satisfaction of, like starting a James Bond film with a big explosion. Oh, that's better. Now I know where I am. Or Murder, She Wrote, where right, who's going to get killed? Come on, get on with it. I need a victim. I need to know who's guilty.
Well, we enjoy that.
I know, but I mean that's fun. They're taking the mickey out of the whole concept, so that I can enjoy the ride, as it were. But The Irishman is a very thought-provoking film because it actually starts with him sitting in an old people's home, and he's reviewing his life and how he got to that point. So it's all very thoughtful in a way, and it's really about the mundane. That means the kind of boring aspect of being a gangster. A lot of it is just hanging around, and occasionally you've got to put out a gun, even with your best friend or something. So there's no big shakes, but the drama is the emotion, and it kind of indicates that the temptation these days, I think, is this instant satisfaction, and so adverts are like that, very loud. If you watch a drama and suddenly the adverts come on, the volume is up there because they don't want you to go and put the kettle on. They want you to sit and watch the advert. Quick, something's happening. So it's down to keeping your attention for short periods of time, maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds or less, and then on to the next one, and then you get back to the drama. And so the drama seems very slow after that. But for me, that allows more connection. So yeah, it can seem quite slow, but it depends where you get your stimulation. But I'm very interested in the emotional side, the observational side, what the story is telling you about certain people. And also, on another level, the acting, the editing and the direction, and of course the writing. There's so many things in there for me to feed on. I love it.
Yeah.
I think perhaps one of the reasons I like this drama as well is that I'm in lots of ways, I'm very old-fashioned. about values. And I like that. That's the feeling that is comfortable with me. And I think it's probably very like my dad. He didn't care about where somebody comes from, what colour they were, or what country they're from, etc. And it's the same. And I think they took people at face value, whoever they were. So they didn't judge first. They met people, talked to people, found out about people and backgrounds and other people's histories, and either became friends because they found common ground, or they moved on and through life and maybe stayed in touch with people. It wasn't selective, and it wasn't driven by social pressures. You make the friends that mean something to you, but it doesn't mean that you don't like other people. And I think I'm very like that as well. But yeah, my parents and grandparents backwards had completely different social dilemmas, I think, to kind of work through. If somebody was in an unhappy marriage, particularly with a wife, tough, you just had to stay there. Unless you were brave enough to break that. She would have the strength to say, I'm going to break this mould, it's not for me, and the rest of the world would just have to do what the rest of the world thinks. I'm going to do what is right for me. Whereas the second sister is very fraught that her husband's having an affair and she doesn't really know what to do about it, and she can't ask him. It's a completely different approach. She's dependent on the family for her own position. She's probably dependent on a husband for income.
Yeah.
But she doesn't do it. And again, you can read, there's so many things into it, that why do some people stay in in an abusive relationship? Now, this isn't physically abusive at all. In fact, the husband's quite supportive. But some people might say emotional abuse is as bad as physical abuse. But she's got something to gain and something to lose. Well, she's probably got more to lose, she thinks, than to gain by confronting the husband. As she could get a private detective to check it out. But does she really want to know the answer? The outcome could be too damaging. And I'm sure that's what a lot of people feel in relationships or in their work. Think about all the ghastly things that happen. Does somebody tell the authorities if they see something going wrong in a care home or in an office somewhere, or do they think, no, if I do that, I'll lose my job? I've got a lot to lose. I've got a family to look after. I'll never get another job in the industry if I go to the press with this, in politics or something. So a lot of reasons why people don't do things, do the morally right thing. And she's got all the emotional ties as well. Children, family life.
Well, compromising, isn't it?
Yeah.
So in a
lot of it's survival.
Yeah.
And some people would say, if you go to France, for instance, although this is my fantasy in a sense, you're almost expecting husbands to have an affair, wives to have an affair. It's fascinating that different cultures deal with these sorts of things in different ways.
Yeah.
What I saw in this, what was being drawn from the ASURA aspect, is that each of those 4 daughters could be called a diva in some sense. They all want attention in completely different ways. So the youngest one's having an affair and she's kind of head of the family of sisters. The second one wants attention because she feels that family life is pushing her down and she fears her husband is having an affair. Now that fear might be because she couldn't hold the family together herself. She needs the husband there, but she's afraid that one day he might not be. So she's pulling, constantly showing you from her expression that she's having a battle inside. The next sister down is getting cross with everybody else, and she's banging the table saying, right, I've had enough of this, I'm going to get somebody to sort this out and tell us exactly what's going on with the family. So she's laying down the law. This is me making my claim. I also want attention. And the fourth one is saying, do you know what, you're all a bunch of mess. I'm going to go off and do my own thing, and I'm going to dress in whatever I want and beautiful stuff, and I just want things, material things, support my husband when I get married, and that's it. So she's saying, look at me. And the bossy one saying, no, look at me. And then you've got the third one saying, no, but look at me. And then you've got the top, oh, look at me. I'm fine. Thank you very much. much. So they've all got an element of this diva status. Fear and frustration, you've got anger, you've got hysterics, you've got family concerns about everything, you've got massive dramas. So when you start thinking about the ASURA kind of elements in that, you can see almost all of those things running through each of the sisters. And yet, they're truly bonded, they're glued together emotionally within the family. But as individuals, they tend to sort of pull apart from each other a little bit, but it's like being on a piece of elastic. They pull apart, but they pull back together all the time. You can't really separate them completely. And they don't want to be separated completely. It's a bit like a molecule or an atom. It can spin and fly around and bounce off things, but it's never going to break apart. So that family bond
isn't it?
is instinctive, I think, with some people. Writing, direction, production, editing and acting, I think is superb.
Okay, thank you so much today. And see you next time.
Next time, yeah. Bye-bye, Japan. See you soon.